Beyond Ukraine, the first days of the year, and in particular the last 48-72 hours, show that these turbulences continue and intensify. I am, of course, thinking of the threat to the sovereignty of Greenland and the new European tariff threat. You know this, but I repeat it. We are fully in solidarity with the Kingdom of Denmark and the Greenlandic people. The principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected. Lars spoke of blackmail. I also say that blackmail between 250-year-old allies, blackmail between friends, is obviously not acceptable. And it is, as far as I know, the first time that an economic instrument, the tariffs, which, as you know, we do not necessarily think are a good thing, are used for geopolitical reasons, by force, to the detriment of adversaries and friends. This is obviously unacceptable. We must, as Europeans, remain united and coordinated in our response, and above all, be ready to fully use the instruments of the European Union. Lars also referred to the trade agreement, the tariffs, the anti-coercion instrument. If these tariff threats are confirmed, we will examine them all. We are determined to defend our sovereignty. This word is important. You have pronounced it, and I pronounce it again. And more than ever, Franco-German cooperation in this area will be decisive. We will address all these issues within the framework of the G7. We will obviously address other priorities, such as multilateral imbalances and rare materials, which Lars also referred to. I will convene a first G7 financial meeting in the coming days to address all these issues, including, of course, the most recent ones. This unstable context, ladies and gentlemen, reinforces the need to make progress, to make rapid progress, for the sovereignty and power of Europe, particularly in terms of competitiveness, which we are both responsible for. The power of Europe, more than ever, must be affirmed as our strategic orientation, and we are all associated with it. As Lars said, we must work on digital sovereignty. We must also work on financial sovereignty. We must ensure that Europe is a major player in the ongoing digital revolution, including that of artificial intelligence. And for this, Europe has major assets. We are a power of innovation. We have researchers, we have startups, we have the capacity to generate patents, which is one of the strongest in the world. We also have a major asset, which is the power of our market. The single European market is the most powerful in the world. We must complete it. We must make it more efficient. Today, we will be talking about the 28th corporate regime, which is one of the priorities we must share. We have innovation, we have a market. The missing link is clearly in the middle. We do not have enough capital in Europe to finance our companies and to ensure that they grow, that they are powerful, that they are world champions, and that they remain European companies. I have always been a bit skeptical about these parallels between economic instruments and defense instruments. But if I had to pursue your parallel, the nuclear weapon is there, so as not to be used. The nuclear weapon is above all a weapon of dissuasion. I hope that we will remain there as well. But of course, the anti-coercion instrument is part of the instruments at our disposal. These would be strong measures that would be adopted if we went that far. But France, as you know, wants us to examine this possibility, hoping that dissuasion will win and that President Trump will return to a relationship that is more frank, more friendly, and more negotiable, rather than a relationship based on threat and blackmail. At this stage, I do not want to assume that you are talking about the end of economic relations between two friends of 250 years, France and the United States, and two strategic allies of decades, the United States and the European Union. We must do everything in the days to come to affirm our ability to react, to affirm our power, but also to make sure that we lower the pressure and that we de-escalate rather than escalate. This is the objective of the days to come. They are obviously very important. It starts with a European summit on Thursday. It will also be within the framework of the G7 finances that we will have the opportunity to talk about it. I take very encouraging signals from Democratic politicians, but also from Republicans who say that this is not the way we want to go. In this respect, there are many people in the United States with whom we are in contact who have a very strong interest in a transatlantic world. I think it is also about the question of whether Europe is able to say confidently and self-confidently at this point, "Here is a limit reached." That is what I expect from the European Commission. What I expect from us as Europeans, that when it comes to the question of the integrity and sovereignty of a country, we clearly put up a stop sign and say, we are not going down this path. We are ready to talk about security interests within NATO. We are also ready to talk about the question of critical raw materials, of rare earths. Roland Lescure just said that we will have a productive dialogue within the G7. We can have cooperative and joint meetings, but it is also important for President Trump to recognize this limit and for Europe to do so in a self-confident way. For this, we do not have to prepare all instruments only at the moment when the customs are lifted. We must be ready so that we can react quickly. I am not doing this against the transatlantic relationship, but so that we are equal partners in this transatlantic relationship. We need a strong Europe, and a strong Europe can only exist with a strong German-French axis. In July, we already had a first detailed German-French clause at Genshagen Palace, and today we are coming together to continue this exchange. Let me take this opportunity to say a few words about the customs threats that President Trump spoke out a few hours ago. Germany and France agree that we will not allow ourselves to be oppressed. There will be a clear and united European response, and we are now preparing coordinated countermeasures with our European partners. We are preparing for the possibility that President Trump will uphold his customs threats. There are 3 points to this. First, the current customs agreement with the United States, which is due to be approved by the European Parliament this week. Second, European customs on imports from the United States, which have so far been extended until 6 February and could come into force. Third, there is a legal European framework, an instrument toolbox, through which we can react to economic coercion with very sensitive measures. We should now examine the use of these measures. At the same time, I want to emphasize that I have no interest in escalation. A transatlantic escalation would be at the expense of the people and the economy on both sides of the Atlantic. That is why we are always ready to find a solution. Our hand is extended, but we are not ready to be oppressed. We will remain in talks with the United States, with both government and opposition, with representatives from Congress and the Senate. I held talks in Washington on Monday. I am firmly convinced that cooperation between Europe and the United States is central to many global challenges, including the Russian attack on Ukraine and security in the Arctic. But we are constantly experiencing new provocations and confrontation. At this point, it must be made clear that a border has been reached. The logical consequence is clear. We have to make Europe stronger, and we have to move much faster than we do today. European sovereignty has the highest priority for us in the German-French relationship. We will make this clear in 3 areas: making Europe more attractive for private capital, strengthening European patriotism, and achieving strong digital sovereignty, including payment systems. We want Europe to be a safe and attractive port for investment. We want innovative European companies to grow into global market leaders without having to leave for the United States or China. For that, they need capital. We need a true savings and investment union and a much deeper, more competitive capital market. Together with France, we have set up an expert group. Today, its report is being presented, providing valuable impulses for Europe. This has strategic significance, and we will act on it with great determination.